Welcome back to the Weekly YouTube channel. I'm your host Owen, and today I'm currently hopped up on a pre-workout and feeling really motivated to record some videos. So today is going to be one of the first videos I record where I'm going to be going through and re-updating my quarterback rankings. I did a video about this a month or so ago, which was really successful, and it was before we knew who was going to be coming out and who was going to be going back to school, and before I had gotten full viewings on every single quarterback that I wanted to cover in this draft cycle. Now I have about 15 quarterbacks done. I feel like I have enough information on the guys I think are going to be even draft conversation worthy, besides a couple guys like John Rhys Plumlee, Jake Plumer, stuff like that potentially could get a shot in like the 7th round. But most of these guys I think are the ones that everyone talks about, and I'm going to be giving my opinions on guys I talked about. You know, there's going to be some people on the tiers that I have now newly added, other guys who are going to be going back to school, and you'll see a new tier which just talks about them going back to school, and just some updated grades and outlooks I have on guys as their outlook for their careers in the NFL. So let's just jump right into the new tier list. So I'm going to go through these alphabetically like I did the first time, and then that way it's not me just going from top to bottom, going through my tiers, or, you know, starting with the new guys, going to the old, stuff like that. So we're going to go alphabetically. I have the list in front of me, and I'm going to slot the new guys in that I have on this list into where they would be alphabetically either way. So starting off alphabetically with letter B, Bo Nix. Right now I have him placed in the high floor, low ceiling category, and I think I'm going to leave him there. I do think he is one of the better quarterbacks of this tier. I'd say he's probably a better prospect than a guy like Michael Penix Jr. is, and we'll get to the other two shortly. But Bo Nix, I still haven't come off my original opinion of him, which is decently accurate to fairly, he has good NFL accuracy. I wouldn't call him the most accurate quarterback in this draft class, and probably not even one of the most top 5 accurate quarterbacks in the NFL when he comes in. But I do think he is accurate enough to put balls in right places in the NFL. I don't really trust his defensive reading skills. He went from being this kind of wild guy in Alabama or Auburn who would go off script all the time and make plays out of nothing, but then couldn't really work inside a system, to going to Oregon, where now he is totally within a system and occasionally lets that Auburn side of him out. But when he's in that system at Oregon, he is more conservative and will either throw the screen. If the screen's not there, he'll dirt it. It's evident he went from one extreme to another, and he has to really find that balance if he's going to succeed and become a top echelon quarterback in the NFL. I just don't have a lot of confidence in that. He's a good athlete. I want to say he's a great athlete. He can probably make some offense with his legs in the NFL level. When everyone's faster, he'll probably be about average when it comes to quarterback athleticism-wise. So I wouldn't really expect him to be one of these great rushing quarterbacks. He can operate an offense, be accurate, but I wouldn't really expect him to jump into like the top 10 or even, God forbid, top 5 of the quarterbacks at all in his time in the NFL. So that's why I have him here as a high floor, low ceiling. He comes in and is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL from day one. He should be a starter for somebody as a rookie. I just don't know how high he goes. Maybe like top between the like 17 to 12 range, I think would be his like ceiling. So that's why I have him here on the high floor, low ceiling potential mark. Next, we have Cam Rising, which is going to be a quick one here. He is returning back to Utah, missing most of the year, if not all of it, with his knee injury he suffered in the bowl game 2 years ago now. So he's going to be coming back to school, trying to put more tape out there for NFL GMs. I previously had him in high-end backup potential role. I doubt he's going to improve on that with one more season at the college level, but we'll see how he rebounds from his injury and if he can even improve to still be an NFL caliber backup quarterback. Up next is another quick one. I have Caleb Williams as a top 5 potential quarterback. I think him coming in, his ceiling is like top 3 quarterback, but I think within the first couple of years of him being in the NFL, he's going to be a top 5 guy. There's a lot of hate coming towards Caleb Williams, and I made some videos talking about how I still think he is my QB1, the level of being able to work in side structure as well as working out of it. His biggest criticism is that he doesn't maneuver well. He tries to escape the pocket too much, tries to make those big plays, but when you're at the college level and you're so much more talented than the guys around you, and your offense isn't really helping support you, it's going to become a thing where you're going to want to make the big plays, you're going to show off, and you're going to want to try to make offense for yourself. It's kind of like what Josh Allen did at Wyoming, stuff like that, where you want to play Superman because you know that you're the best guy in the field and you're trying to win the game for your team. When he gets to the NFL and he gets more support around him on a team, potentially like the Chicago Bears, like a DJ Moore or something like that, or wherever he goes, he's going to have other guys who can make plays for him, so he doesn't have to feel like he has to do everything all the time, and that'll even him out a little more, and I have a lot of high expectations for him when he gets to the NFL, so that's why he's sticking in top 5 potential here. Next up is Cam Ward, who I had in top 10 potential, and I think he still would be in the top 10 potential one. I really love Cam Ward, especially after watching more of his 2023 All-22 film, expecting because he was going to come out, then he wasn't, then he was transferring to Miami, then he was coming back out, now he's going back to Miami. So I think he's officially staying for another season in Miami, but this guy should be the favorite to be QB1 for next year, especially because the big issue with him, he went from Incarnate Word, which was a lower tier of Division I school for competition-wise, came to Washington State and really took his game up with that level of competition, but was still a little raw. Another year now in an ACC school, he could come in, and if he performs just as well as he has at every other level he's made on the stop in his college career, and then performs well in like the Senior Bowl circuit and stuff like that when he finally does come out, I do think he could be in contention for quarterback 1 next year, even though I know there are going to be some good competition with guys like Quinn Ewers coming back for another season. So I do really like Cam Ward. I understand the reason he's coming back out because he wants to refine his skill set a little more and prove he can make it at one of the higher levels of competition like the ACC. But I really still would have like to see him come out this year. He probably would have been like QB 3 or 4 for me, to be honest with you. Up next, we got Drake Maye, and this one's kind of tough for me. Right now, he's sitting in top 10 potential because I do think he has the skill to be a top 10 quarterback perennially wherever he goes, especially within the first couple seasons. The question is, do I move him up to top 5 potential? Because I do really like Drake Maye, and I think he has a lot of talent that will be top 5 worthy. It just, does he have that career trajectory of like Justin Herbert, where he has help around him and he is super talented, he makes just enough mistakes or does just enough things hold him back, whether it's coaching or other players around him, that he doesn't really get looked at as like a top 5 quarterback, whether there's like always a hang up. Like some people have Justin Herbert in their top 5s, but there's always a good reasoning or good argument as to having one guy over him than the other in the top 5. So I'm debating putting Drake Maye in top 5 potential because I think he could be a perennial top 5 quarterback, but I'm going to stick with him at top 10. I'd rather be more conservative on analysis and then that's probably more accurate than try to shoot for the moon and then when he eventually just becomes a top 10 perennial quarterback but not top 5, be like, I was a little too high on him then. I think I'm going to stick with top 10 potential and hope he proves me wrong. Up next, we have J.J. McCarthy, which we weren't sure when I first made this tier list if he was going to be coming out or not. I did really like him. I actually came off of him a little bit now after watching some more of his 2023 tape. I originally had him as a true first-round grade, but now he's dropped down to a second-round grade for me. He's just a big, strong, athletic quarterback who is very young. I think he's 20 years old. He obviously was limited in what they asked him to do at Michigan. Like, they had a run-heavy offense. They asked him to do simple reads, which he was able to progress through pretty well. When he was given more advanced stuff, you could see his inexperience in running that kind of thing. But he has all the physical talent in the world. Colin Cowherd hates him, which makes me want to like him more. And the reason Colin doesn't like him is because he's only 200 pounds or something like that. Oh, you see Josh Allen is 250. And quarterbacks can be different shapes and sizes, Colin. Regardless, we're tangent over. He has a hose on his shoulder. He's absolutely rocket-armed. And he has some mobility, which you need in the current NFL. And he already proved he can come in and run like a run-heavy offense where the quarterback isn't asked to do much. But if you can unlock that mental side of him as he ages and progresses, getting older and smarter and more high football IQ through his years of getting coached up under NFL coaches, I think he does have the potential to be a perennial top 10 quarterback. He's one of the guys in this upper half of the tier list that I think coming in, like I always have the high floor, low ceiling of the guys who should be starters day one. I think McCarthy could be a starter day one, but you'd have him in like a padded cell kind of thing. Really coddle him when he first comes in, have him be in that run-heavy offense like a New England, something like that. I really like the New England fit for him. And just let him hand the ball off to a guy like Ramondre Stevenson over and over again. Have him do like RPOs or maybe like two read things before dumping it off to the running back or a tight end. And just try to play conservative and then slowly unlock more and more from him as you move more and more that way as an offense, adding more weapons on the outside as opposed to just having your running backs and tight ends be your most talented players. So I do think JJ could be a top 10 quarterback with the tools he has, but coming in right now, I think he's going to be more of a conservative, lower-end starter until he can slowly start maturing and unlocking more of those physical talents and marrying it with a higher football IQ he will develop. And then this is one of the ones I got a lot of blowback for when I first made this tier list. We have Jayden Daniels down in the boomer bust tier. And a lot of people were mad because he's physically lower than the other guys on this list. And this isn't my direct rankings. He is ranked and graded higher than guys like Bo Nix, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, even Quinn Ewers and Spencer Rattler. Quinn Ewers isn't even going to be on this tier list when we get to him eventually. But like he is graded higher than those guys. Don't don't take this as a reflection of direct grades. If I wanted to do that, I would just give you a top 10 list in order of who I have graded where. The reason I have Jayden Daniels down here in Boomer Bust and why he's staying in Boomer Bust is because despite his success he's had in the past 2 years at LSU, and even those years he had, I think it was at Arizona State, the physical talent's evident. He's super accurate. He's disgustingly accurate. He's the most accurate quarterback in this class, in my opinion. He drops dimes all over the place. When he throws the ball with time, clean pocket, and has the correct read he wants to throw to, there's rarely anybody more accurate on a down-and-down basis. However, he is currently, even though he's an older prospect, I think he's going to be 24, 25 when he comes out of the draft class, he's not able to progress through these more complex defenses with route combinations like that he has to read through and go through the progressions. Like defenses, especially like the Alabama game, where the Alabama switched up the coverages, dropped guys late, brought in weird looks for him. He kind of struggled to get off that first read. And when you have a guy like Malik Neighbors and a number 2 like Brian Thomas, you don't really need to really focus it. You just okay, my guy's going to be open. This is an elite wide receiver talent, Neighbors over here. I think he's going to be open. I'm just going to throw the ball to him on this curl route, even though his corner's all over him, and I have a backside post wide open. Not saying that was a specific example from the Alabama game, but those are the kind of things that he does miss. And especially when he gets some crowded pressure in the pocket, I do think he tends to take his eyes off the reads until he can get clean again. I don't really trust him to be able to stand in and take a hit at the NFL level, especially when defenders are faster and the pocket can close even quicker. So he's one of those guys I think is going to be limited right away. He'll make some flash plays with his legs. He'll have some dimes in the end zone, the red zone, throw into these fadeaway back corner fade balls in the end zone. But I do think for him to become a starting NFL quarterback consistently and even a Pro Bowler, because that's what his upside is, he needs to progress mentally more. In being an older prospect, I have less confidence in him doing that than someone like J.J. McCarthy. So he is a boom or bust. He can either be a perennial Pro Bowl quarterback, or he could be a sub-tier backup or even out of the NFL within that first 5-year contract. Both possibilities are a lot more realistic than the guys above him on this tier list. So that's why I have him where I have him. Not because I haven't graded that low, because that's where I view him as a player and what his trajectory in the NFL is. Up next is his fellow boomer bust companion, Joe Milton. This is kind of the exact example of what I was saying with Jayden Daniels. Joe Milton is a 7th round graded quarterback. Jayden Daniels is a 2nd round graded quarterback. They are in the same tier because their trajectory of them as players in the NFL is going to be, they could be excellent and excel and become top 10, top 5 quarterbacks perennially, or they could fall out of the league in a year and a half. You'll see him, or not year and a half, but in a short time, that first contract, and you'll see him in the UFL soon thereafter. I think Jayden Daniels has a much better chance of being a boom than a bust, whereas Joe Milton, I think, has more chance of being a bust than a boom. But the physical talents both these guys possess in one way or another, where Jayden Daniels, it's accuracy and that high athletic ability, where Joe Milton, he's not a statue, but he's not that mobile, but he has an absolute cannon of an arm, and if you can weaponize that and really work on the fundamentals of his mechanics to get him more accurate and have him progress through defenses more, I think he could be somebody that can be towards that upper 16 of the NFL quarterback rankings every year because of just how talented his arm is. So these guys are both similar when it comes to what they're going to need and what their career paths look like, whether it's going to be a boom or a bust, but they're different when it comes to how ready they are now and how much their talents are spread out throughout their toolkit and how far along one is than the other. Jayden Daniels is a lot more closer to being top 10 potential than a Joe Milton, but they're both still boom or bust. And that's why Joe Milton is here alongside Jayden Daniels. Why I think Joe Milton is overall a boom or bust guy, I'd probably lean on the side of bust. But with that arm talent, I can't totally put him in high-end backup potential just because he doesn't really feel like a backup quarterback. He's more close to being slotted into spring football than anything else, but I think that arm talent does put him in the boom or bust category. Up next, we have Jordan Travis down here in high-end backup potential. I know there's a lot of storylines going around with his ankle and stuff like that. I do still feel pretty good about Jordan Travis. He does have to have his arm mechanics reworked. He still looks like he throws a shot put or football like a shot put. But I don't really put a lot of stock into his ankle injury changing his grade for me all that much. I saw a quarterback who can get through the reads slowly but still is decently accurate, has some good ability at understanding and realizing when he should run, when he should use his legs, while not being like as good an athlete as a Jordan Travis. As a Jayden Daniels, I still do think Jordan Travis could use his legs to succeed at the NFL level. I think he'll be able to recover from this ankle injury, come in, be like a high-end backup, low-tier starter, come in and pinch hit every so often, especially if you can fix those arm mechanics. But I don't really see him. I see him in like that Jake Brown, like how we saw this year, Jake Browning, and I'm already forgetting Joshua Dobbs, like these backups that can come in and win you a few games, and then everyone on national media is talking about them for a week until they lose again. So that's where I see Jordan Travis slotting into when it comes to his role as a quarterback in the NFL, and I'm not really moved off of that. Now we have our first new quarterback to the tier list. I know I've been doing a lot of non-moving. Like I think I moved nobody. I haven't moved anybody who hasn't been returned to school yet. So we're actually going to be adding somebody to the tiers now, and we'll get some actual movement after a few picks of justifying where I put these guys in the first place. And it's going to be, who is it? Kedon Slovis. That's who it is. Kedon Slovis is going to be going right into spring football. I watched Kedon Slovis from like 2020 tape when he was at USC, expecting him to come out like 2 or 3 years ago when he was a junior. And then he came back for his senior year and went to Pitt. And then he went to somewhere else. And he finally finished his career at BYU. And it's like, there's not much to say about him. He's got NFL arm talent. He likes to use his legs, even though he's not that great of an athlete. I mean, when he played the guys that BYU played, he looks pretty good. He's accurate for like 3 or 4 throws a game, and everything else he's just spraying it everywhere. I think he was a much better prospect when he was younger because you could at least justify it to yourself that he's young and these things that he's struggling with right now he can get better with as time goes on. But ever since he left USC, I've kind of fallen off of him as a quarterback prospect, and going back and watching these BYU games, it's kind of just pitiful to see how he is as a quarterback prospect. And he literally looks like a spring football player playing college football right now. I expect him to be on the Houston Roughnecks in about a year from now, or maybe even this upcoming spring, depending on what his tryouts and NFL spring ball practices are like that. So, Kedon Slovis, your textbook UFL quarterback, going to be coming into the NFL, maybe given a UDFA contract to come and try out for a team, and then either be on a practice squad or go play for the Pittsburgh Maulers. So, that's our newest player to the tier list. I know, very exciting. Up next, we're going to have some movement here, and it's going to be Michael Penix Jr. going from high floor, low ceiling to boom or bust. I do like Michael Penix's arm talent. Everyone's going to say that he's got a great arm, and that's the be all and end all of what he is as a prospect. He has a fantastic arm strength, humongous hands, so you can just grip and rip it no matter what the weather. He excelled in Seattle, where it could be kind of shitty conditions. So that's why I originally had him in low ceiling, high floor, low ceiling. I don't know why I keep tripping over that. Because I thought that he could read defense kind of decently, had a great arm. He wasn't that mobile. He had a bunch of injury history, which is probably what knocked against his mobility from his time at Indiana. But what I saw, especially as a Washington fan, watching every single game he played this year, is the fact that he couldn't respond to when he was forced under pressure. Arizona just straight up zero blitzed him the entire game, and he had one of his worst games of his career. And it was maddening because like they teach you, like, oh, here's hot routes on this blitz. If it's a zero blitz, you know it's man coverage everywhere. Even if they're not running like crossers directly to beat man coverage, you should know where like your back is if he leaks out. Like you have these options to go to it, and he just could not throw a ball when under pressure. He would constantly move around the pocket really weird. He couldn't use his legs to escape the pressure. It was also another thing against Oregon where like they were giving him pressure, and he just looked terrible every time he was under pressure. And I just couldn't stick with where I had his original grade. I've dropped him down onto a third-round grade. He has some higher upside than a guy like Bo Nix does, but I think Bo Nix is a lot higher of a floor, which is why I'm moving Michael Penix on the boom or bust. I could definitely see if he improves his pocket presence and his ability to recognize pressure and get through progressions while under pressure. With that arm talent, he could be a pretty good quarterback, but there is so much ifs about that and so much stuff that NFLs can exploit whether it comes to slow progressions under pressure and putting somebody under pressure and giving them weird looks to go along with that in coverage, like dropping D linemen out and stuff like that to amplify the pressure and make it really confusing. I do think there is some bust potential with Michael Penix, so I do want to move him down from high floor, low ceiling to boom or bust. Our next new addition to the tiers, and yes, it's going to be Michael Pratt, and I'm going to put him at spring football, which is going to be surprising for most people because I think Michael Pratt is like the sleeper quarterback that everyone wants to put in their lists, like above guys like Bo Nix or above guys like Michael Penix, and especially above guys like Spencer Rattler. And I need to rant here because if you guys follow me on Twitter, which Twitter, I'm at the Weekly Huddle, I think. I'll put the link somewhere in the description, but God, I have never been more frustrated watching tape of a quarterback or any player really, and then hearing the public discourse about it, like how PFF has him as like the number 75 overall player on their board, and just seeing a total disconnect from what I'm watching on tape, and it just infuriates me. I have nothing against Michael Pratt as a person, or even as a football player. He's a relatively fun watch. Like, he throws some big passes that look terrible, and you're like, why the hell did he throw that? And he runs a lot, so it's like a fun watch, but nothing that says, like, screams NFL quarterback. My one tweet I had was, Michael Pratt runs the football like he thinks he's Lamar Jackson, but he has the body of Joe Burrow. Like, he's not that athletic, but he has like 15 carries, 12 carries in games for like 70 yards, yeah, but like it's never like he's a good athlete. His arm is NFL level. He gets stuck on single read progressions, like he cannot get off his first read for the save of life of him, and even when it's a half field read, he still makes the wrong decision, or he'll just take off instead of trying to find a backside read or something like that. I don't know if that's coaching. I know the lock on the first read is definitely not coaching, but like the half field stuff, that could potentially be coaching, in which case Tulane did him dirty. But even then, when he was asked to do full field reads, he just locked onto a guy, or he threw it in a totally wrong position. Like, should not have thrown that ball. His pocket presence is mediocre. When he bails from clean pockets. He like has a timer in the back of his head. As soon as it goes off, he's out of that pocket. He's running. I can't with Michael Pratt. Like, I think maybe he could be an NFL backup, maybe, but like he has this idea of him being this more athletic guy and will put himself in danger because he thinks he's a good athlete, which he won't be that good at NFL level. He's a sub-athlete. I think he's even worse than a guy like Drake Maye, Bo Nix. He's definitely not that level of athlete. So he's going to try to put himself in those positions as a backup, and you can't make the turnovers. That's going to lead to more turnovers than he even had in college. When you try to overtrust traits you don't have, I don't understand the Michael Pratt thing. And you know what? Prove me wrong. Get drafted in the 4th round. Make me give you a double F- grade on draft day, and then go on to be a solid 20 to 32 starter in the NFL. And I'll take the L there. But I just can't. I don't know. Someone will have to explain it to me. But Michael Pratt just infuriates me to no end. No matter how many games I've watched, I watched more games for him than a lot of these other quarterbacks outside of like Spencer Rattler and Kedon Slovis. Just because I just had to keep watching, like trying to find sifting through the silt. Where is this good quarterback that everyone keeps talking about? Top 100 player in the draft class. Where is he? And I couldn't find it. So Michael Pratt, he's like my arch nemesis of this draft class. I have found him. I know I talked about it a little bit in the Jayden Daniels video a couple weeks ago, if not last week. I can't remember when I recorded that. It's been kind of a blur. But Michael Pratt is definitely, if he's going to go in the 3rd round or early 4th round, I'm going to dump on that pick and say, you might as well have lit that pick on fire. Again, nothing against Michael Pratt as a person. I hope he's never going to see this, but I don't hate him. I just hate the fact that he's getting so much hype from other people who cover the draft and even teams in the NFL. Like, what is happening? I don't know. They probably know more than I do, and I'm just missing it completely. I'm sure I'll hear about it in the comments. But yeah, Michael Pratt, totally missing the boat on that one. Miss me with all your Michael Pratt stock. I'm not buying a cent of that. Anyway, Quinn Ewers is going back to school. That's anticlimactic, yeah. I'm excited for Quinn Ewers. I really do like him. I think he's like a top quarterback. He'll be a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's kind of disappointing coming from a guy who was like a 100 prospect on 24/7, like 5-star, one of the highest graded prospects of all time. He'll be a decent starter. He's got a good release. He's smart with the football, not super athletic. Doesn't have the fantastic arm, but you know, he'll guide Texas to another like top 5, top 6 season again. So I really like Quinn Ewers, and yeah, let's keep moving. Sam Hartman, high-end backup potential. Listen, if I was giving points on handsomeness alone, he would be up and boom or bust. But Sam Hartman as the quarterback, decently accurate sometimes, other times I don't know what the hell he's doing. Decent decision-making, doesn't really put the ball in harm's way all that often. Not super athletic, but can use his feet sometimes, every so often. Really just like a backup version of what a game general is. Like he's not going to go in there and like dice guys up like a Brock Purdy, but he also isn't so bad he's going to be in the UFL next year. Like I think he could be a solid backup. He has the body and play style built for a 15-year backup career. I really do think the two guys in this tier, Jordan Travis and Sam Hartman, really are going to be the guys who, out of this draft class, are going to be the more consistent backups. The rest of the guys above them, if they're not starters, they'll be backups for like a handful of years, and then they'll be out of the league. These guys have that skill set and have the, I don't know, play style, I guess would be the word, to be consistent backups for a decade plus. Spencer Rattler. I'm going to leave him in high floor, low ceiling. I finally see some people talking about him on Twitter. Shout out to the guy, John Vogel. Me and him were kind of just having this mutual Spencer Rattler gush off. We're talking about how he's kind of slept on as a quarterback prospect in this draft class and how he's going to the Senior Bowl next week. And I think he'll be one of the guys that there is going to stand out. Like Michael Penix is going to be there. His arm's going to show out. If he does play or participate, there's going to be guys there that are going to do good. But I think Spencer Rattler is one of the guys that's going to come in and kind of in years past where we've seen guys like, Kyle Lett is a terrible example, but someone who comes in the Senior Bowl, performs well, and it's like, oh, that guy who we thought would be like a mid-round draft pick, maybe he'll go in day 2. I really like Spencer Rattler. He's one of the higher graded guys. I'm higher on him than most people. Watch the game against Georgia in 2023, and you'll see all the things. He was working with very limited cast outside of Xavier Legette. Jaheim Bell and Marshawn Lloyd both left him this year. I really think that he was the main reason why that offense did anything on the field, and especially against a team like Georgia, he really showed out and showed what kind of quarterback he can be. He needs to pull back on running so much because he's not as good of an athlete as he thinks he is, but I do think that baseball style and with the arm strength and the changing of arm angles, he is relatively accurate. He likes to go for the deep ball. If we can rein him in a little bit, he could be a solid starter for a decent chunk of years. Worst case scenario, he's a so-so backup. The last of our group of guys here. Oh, wait. No, I forgot to add somebody because he wasn't in the original video, but for some reason he's on the tier list. Austin Reed, spring football, Western Kentucky guy. He's all right. He throws a lot of screens. Is accurate in the short to intermediate game. Doesn't really have an NFL arm. Likes to run the ball, but isn't that athletics. Just take what I said about Kedon Slovis, copy-paste here with Austin Reed. Except I think I like him a little more than Kedon Slovis. But actually, our final guy who was on the list originally, Tanner Mordecai, again, kind of disappointing. He's still another guy in the spring football section. I do think out of the 4 guys here, he'll probably be the one that could move up to being like a high-end backup, just because I think he has an NFL arm. He played in the Big Ten with Wisconsin after lighting up stats-wise in SMU with like a guy like Rashee Rice. So even though I don't like him, I think I have the lowest grade on him out of all these guys. I do see like this prototypical style of quarterback he is that teams might value him to develop him as a backup quarterback, but I still think he's going to be one of those guys who his best ball would come in like a spring football league. He's never going to be a solid backup or even, God forbid, a starter in the NFL. So Tanner Mordecai, again, selling stock on him as well. And our final player, and another one I saw a lot of comments about in my first video that I didn't cover because I didn't have any tape on him. Taulia Tagovailoa. I held out hope that he was going to go back for like a 6th season because he was looking for that kind of pathway. He wanted to go back again, and he just ended up not being able to find that and declare for the draft at the very end of the deadline. So I finally watched him, and I have a tough time with him. I'm floating between high-end backup and spring football. I think because of his size and his lack of being able to play under pressure, and even though he does have some accuracy, he does wane sometimes, especially when he is under pressure, I'm going to put him in spring football. I don't think he'll be able to succeed as a consistent backup in the NFL where if you ask him to come in and pinch hit for some quarterback injuries or, rest a guy, I couldn't imagine Taulia Tagovailoa going out there and playing good football at the NFL level, even against like other backups. We'll probably see all these guys in the preseason, to be honest with you, besides like Kedon Slovis. And I do feel like, again, Austin Reed or even Taulia would probably be the best performing guy in the preseason of these spring football dudes. But I still don't see a lot of future for him. He's a very small quarterback, 5'11", sub 200 pounds, doesn't really have an NFL arm. He can throw it like up until you ask him to throw it for more than like 40 yards. Then he's going to struggle. He's accurate except for when he isn't. He's terrible under pressure. He doesn't really have a lot of mobility. Like, he has some mobility. He's like probably a better athlete than even his brother Tua, but I don't see him as like a high-end athlete, not even like a mid-tier athlete in the NFL. So you're not going to want him running a lot, especially because he has that frame. So just overall, a subpar quarterback will be a fun guy to watch, like a Jordan Ta'amu in the UFL. He'd probably be that level of quarterback, but I don't think he has any NFL really future or sustainability, unlike some of the guys who are above him. So that's my updated NFL quarterback tier rankings. These are all the guys I'm going to be watching for the NFL draft. Again, there's guys like John Rhys Plumlee, who's kind of more of an athlete. Maybe I'll check out his stuff, but other than that, no one else really piqued my interest to think that they're going to get drafted or even given an opportunity to be a backup in the NFL. I know this is going to be kind of controversial, not very high on the draft class at the top, but I do think it's solid going throughout. A lot of starter potential here. So tell me how you thought about this. Leave them in the comments. I love responding to comments. It's the greatest thing about this is hearing other people's opinions and being able to debate them and argue that in the comments. So go ahead and leave those, even if you disagree with me or agree with me. Whatever, we can still have a conversation. I have a lot of stuff in the chamber prepped up for this week. I'm going to be doing a reaction to this with my other friend, Scotty. You might have seen him on the live stream where we reacted to the Texas versus Washington playoff game. But yeah, we're going to come in and talk about this in a podcast. I have a couple other video ideas I have floating around, so I'll bang those out within this week. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when those come out, and I'll see you in the next one.